My name is Appelusa, and today we are doing backwards skating. I'm going to walk you through beginner all the way through advanced backwards techniques. We won't be doing backwards crossovers or cross pulls today. That will be a separate tutorial for advanced, but this is more of a beginner intermediate backwards skating tutorial. Let's get right to it. Okay, let's get into backwards skating. Start with your toes turned in. We're making an upside down pizza shape. You want to go not too wide, because if you go too wide, your feet are just going to go really fast in opposite directions. So think of a narrow piece of pizza, and we're going to keep our weight on our toe wheels. I like to put my alignment so that my hips are over my toe wheels. We're not sticking our buns out. Keep your buns in the oven. Hips over the toe wheels, knees are bent over the toes. We're keeping our core engaged. And we're pushing down on the toe wheels to go backwards. You might even find that if you do that, you start to go backwards. So you can, if you don't know how to stop yourself from going backwards, just put the weight more in the middle to start. And once you get going, you can put more weight on your toe wheels. Before we go anywhere, we're going to walk straight and hit a safety position. I want you to look at your wheels and make sure your skates are parallel. What we think sometimes is completely straight is not actually completely straight for our skates. So let's go from our backwards starting position into 1, 2, 3 toes straight safety position. Glance down, make sure your toes are straight, do any adjustments you need to do, because we're going to be hitting safety position anytime you need to. Okay, so toes turned in. We're taking half steps backwards. So what I mean by that is we're not passing your other foot to step backwards. We're stepping more in the middle of the foot. And we're just taking marching steps backwards with our toes turned in, half steps, hit a safety roll, and drop one toe stop behind you to stop. Most people will have because their weight is on their toes and they hit a safety position, their heel wheels are more free to move around and they'll end up turning in and running into each other. So when you do hit your safety position, make sure your weight is more in the center and glance down and see if they're parallel, and then you can drop your stopper. Let's do that one more time. So backwards marching steps, weight in the center, safety, and stop with whatever stopper is more comfortable for you. Now let's try that a little faster. Now you might notice you're actually starting to push forward. Now if I told you to push forward, you probably overanalyze it and get really stuck and not really know what your feet are doing. So if I tell you to walk backwards, you are actually going to be pushing forwards. So keep thinking about walking backwards during this next part of the instruction. Okay, now we're going to start to shift our weight from side to side a little bit more. And almost like you're marching in slow motion or stepping backwards, we're still kind of doing those half steps. But now I want you to notice that you're starting to push forwards. Now, any of these parts of the instruction are meant to be drilled and practiced individually. So as I'm showing you, I'm kind of incorporating from beginner all the way through advanced. But you stick it with what level is good for you. If you need to come back to this video, in the description, I will have the time signatures of where I am and what I'm instructing in the video. So if you need to come back to the advanced way, just come back to this video and watch it again. But you do need to spend 10, 15 minutes at a time just drilling one part of the tutorial before you move on to the next part. And you know, it may take you sometimes weeks or months to even get to the advanced level. So just make sure you're practicing and don't really jump into stuff that's too hard for you. Stick at your level, learn with good technique, and you'll actually be a better skater sooner for it, because it's really hard to break bad habits. We want to get good technique in your muscle memory. Okay, so you're shifting your weight side to side and you're starting to notice that you're pushing forwards a little bit. So we are pushing off the toe wheels. That is where your pressure is going to go on the push foot. Now you're going to start to shift your weight so you have about 70, 80, 90% of your weight on your standing foot. And then the push foot, you're not really, putting weight on it. You're just pushing off the toe wheels like you're trying to kick somebody in front of you gently. Shifting your weight, letting that foot roll out in front of you a little bit, and then just noticing that you're creating some friction with the toe wheels and the ground. Now you don't want to push too hard immediately because you can just knock yourself off balance, but just be gentle as you start, and you can start to incorporate some more effort as you get more comfortable. Now let's move on to stopping. So you're going to drop one toe stop behind you. Your weight is going to go over the standing or rolling foot. So depending on what foot feels easier for you to balance on, that's the foot you'll balance on. The other stopper will go behind you. So it's going to be a gentle gliding stop. It's never really abrupt unless, that's what you're going for. We're really mostly going to focus on a gliding stop for today. So you should hear a swoosh with that toe stop. So majority of your weight is on the standing foot. That's in the center of the foot, so you have a good roll. If it goes on the toes, you'll end up two toe stopping it. And if it goes on the heel, your foot can slip out from underneath you. So just keep the weight in the center of that foot. You're in your safety position, and you're gliding to a stop. Also make sure your knee's not conking in, or your weight is on the inside edge of that foot. Anything that has to do with balance, you want to make sure that your hips are over that foot, your knee is pressing to the outside, and your arch is lifted slightly. We never really want to collapse our arches unless we're doing an inside edge. Then maybe that is an okay thing to do. Okay, so let's give that a try, starting with your marching steps or pushes, safety, and stop. Okay. Let's try that again. Marching steps, safety, and stop. Now you might want to think about your toe stop and your front two wheels as a triangle. And as you're bringing that toe stop back, you're pushing on that triangle. So your front two wheels are on the floor and your toe stop, and you're pushing back gently. You can even kind of keep your toe wheels on the ground as you bring that toe back and then let it drop and continue the push. So it'll look like this. Okay, so if you're really good at doing the marching steps and the pushes and you think you're ready for the next part, we're going to try to do backwards scooter pushes. So in one of my previous tutorials, we did forward scooter pushes, and we were isolating one foot to do the pushes with. So same concept. We're pushing with one foot. That means you're balancing on one foot and pushing with one foot. Your balance foot's going to be directly under you with all of your body weight in the center. Push foot turned out slightly in front of you, and about 70% weight on the standing foot, maybe more, and push. Knee is staying straight over the toes. We're in the middle towards maybe the front end, but more so in the middle of that foot. We just never want to take our weight off the toes when we go backwards. Your push foot is turned in slightly. We'll be creating friction with the toe wheels in the ground, letting that foot roll forward before the push or the follow through of the push. Hips are straight. And let's see if you can do some pushes with one foot. Let's try the other foot. Same thing. My arch is lifted. I'm balancing. Toes turned in. Create some friction. Let that foot kind of roll forwards before you follow through with the push. You can also do those going in a circle on an outside edge. Might actually even be easier for you. So the outside edge is created by pressing on the outside of the standing foot, weight in the center towards front. This is really a lot easier to do in a bigger space, like a skating rink on a figure circle. But if you have the space, you can practice that in a circle, or you can practice that going straight. Let's try the other direction. You can see my hips leaning towards the center, my shoulders, my belly's engaged. I'm actually just doing very gentle pushes, letting my foot roll out, keeping the toes turned in, really finding my center alignment there. All right, now we're getting into backward scissors. So just like my tutorial where I showed you how to do scissors, bubbles, and swizzles going forward, I also showed you how to do one backward. So if you do want to watch that tutorial, go ahead. But just as a review, we're going to do one forward scissor, and then staying on the same track, do one backward. So we do our one forward, our toes are together. Now our heels are probably really wide apart, and if you don't want to do the accidental helicopter. Okay, so this is a trick for you in case your feet accidentally go too far in opposite directions. Catch yourself in a helicopter, do a little twist, get up, and it'll look like you meant to do that. Then we're going to make sure we isometrically pull those heels back together right away. So they're going to start to roll out. I'm going to start to pull my heels back together, parallel, and then pull them in without letting them run into each other. Let's try that again. So letting them roll out, weight on the toes, parallel, and back together. Now there's a little pivot that happens on the toe wheels. So you can do a little pivot play by keeping the weight on the toe wheels. Make sure you have your alignment here. Hips are over the toe wheels, belly's tight, shoulders over the toe wheels. And see if you can slide your heel wheels. Either lift them up slightly or slide them. But if you have outdoor wheels on like I do today, they're going to be sticky. And just kind of lift them up a little bit. Okay, maybe you create a funky dance. So you're going to need that toe wheel pivot to do the next scissor. So we have our first scissor, then we need to toe pivot our heels out on the next scissor. If that's too hard for you, you can just walk them out one at a time. So letting the heels roll out. Now if you're having trouble getting going at all, create some friction by really pressing down on the big toe wheels like you're trying to dig a hole into the ground. Bend your knees, press down, push your feet away from you, and then pull them in right away. Pivot, push and pull. Now when you do multiple scissors backwards, you really won't be lifting up your heel wheels off the floor. They'll more be doing a roll out or a glide out on the surface of the skating floor. Okay, let's move on to another exercise. This is doing 1 foot scissors, 1 foot at a time, while you're keeping your weight on your balance foot. This is sort of getting into your dance backwards skating. There's really no one right way to backwards skate. You kind of incorporate a bunch of different techniques. So you incorporate your backwards pushes, backwards crossovers, scissors, cross steps, all sorts of stuff. And this is one way to get yourself ready to start to dance backwards skate. All right, so weight is on the standing foot in the center. I'm not collapsing my arch or my knee in. My weight is shifted over there. My weight is in the center towards the front of that foot, more so in the center. My push foot is turned in. I'm going to push it away, let it roll, and then bring it back in parallel. I'm doing the little pivot on the toe wheels that we did on the scissors. Now my foot is never passing the other foot. So what I mean by that is it's staying in the front and then coming parallel, staying in the front and coming parallel. What it's not doing is this. or this. Let's try that foot again. Okay. I don't have much weight on that push foot. It's the majority of it is on the standing foot. Let's try the other side. So I've leaned my weight over, my hips are shifted, my hips are square, my arch is lifted, and I'm going to push down on the toe wheels and out and around. So let's try that one foot at a time. So right foot together, left foot together. It's a wall. Let's try that one foot at a time. Right foot together, left foot together. Now if you have more space, which I don't right now, you can start to do the one foot at a time and create some friction so you get some momentum going backwards by using that push foot a little bit stronger on the floor and doing one foot at a time to go backwards. So now if you just had a little bit of music and you get your knees bouncing a little bit, you can create your own little backwards one foot pushes. That's it for your backwards instruction for today. I hope it was helpful. Make sure you check out more of my tutorials, and there is definitely more to come. Please subscribe and like this video and let your friends know about it.